We're live once again with a very cool dude.
You say that now.
Yeah.
We're just getting started.
That's right.
Barbara Lynn Doran, welcome.
Thank you.
First time you and I have crossed paths, to the best of my knowledge.
I think so. I was at the annual general meeting.
Oh, were you?
Yes, I was, and I did vote for you.
Thank you.
Yes, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. I hope to put your vote to better use than
Yes.
about 50% of Americans put theirs to use on Tuesday.
Don't even
Yeah.
Actually, you know, it's funny. Now that we're in this, not we, I
Yeah.
guess we as a society, I mean, what happens in a presidential election kind of affects everybody, whether we like it or not. Now we got to kind of pull for the guy.
Yeah.
I know.
Because if that succeeds, we all kind of succeed, right?
For sure.
But enough about that.
So
Let's
we
get
go,
back to you and your
2
music.
thumbs up.
Gravity's winning the war and the thumb's pointing down. We'll see how it goes. Barbara Lindor, well, thank you for the support on
Oh,
that.
no problem.
Don't you love how during Country Music Week they hold the AGM at 9:30 on a Saturday morning?
Wasn't it even earlier? I felt like it was earlier. It was.
Well.
It was early. It was maybe 9:30.
Oh, it feels earlier. You know, what's wrong with noon?
I know, it's true. It's true. I know.
But we all live to tell the tale. Well, this is an introduction between you and I, and certainly
Yeah.
to our audience. So, what's your story?
Well, my story is I've been songwriting for quite a long time, since I was 16. Started off probably more in the pop rock alternative genre. And in the last 10 years, I've been more focused on country songwriting, heading to Nashville, and made tons of trips to Nashville. And so this is my third CD that I'm releasing now. And this one in particular, all the songs, with the exception of one, is written by me only, although I still do a lot of co-writing. This one is all me.
Well, I opened this up. You know, it's funny what technology can do, and yet it still seems insurmountable, or almost, for me to open the cellophane CD.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. But when I did, I opened it up because I always do like to take a look at the songwriting credits.
Right. And you know what? I didn't put them on there. Isn't that funny? I didn't even give myself credit.
You answered the question before I could ask,
Yeah.
is because you've at least got a part in all of these. Maybe one you said that you didn't.
One is a co-write.
One's a co-write. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you have a CD like this and you release it, you said it's your third. Does the nervousness ever go away?
Of releasing the CD, well, I try not to get too nervous about it. I'm excited that I have this one in particular out. The whole experience for me with this one was great. I recorded it in Nashville, saw everything come to life myself with all the players in the room at the same time. I did it at Beard Studios, and it was very, very life-changing experience to see that all happen for me, because in the past I wasn't present in the studio, at least for like when Rob, who's here with me, played on my previous 2 CDs. I wasn't actually in the studio when they did their tracking. So, so this was a different experience for me for sure. So
Now, on to CD number 3. What's do you have a different expectation as you go along? CD 1, CD 2, now you're on to CD 3. What would you like to see happen with this?
I'd like to see big things happen with this one.
I would like to sell 1 million. Yeah, I'd like to sell 1 million copies.
Yes, 1 million would be a good start. Yeah. Now this one, like I said, I'm just super proud of this one. I went down really. It wasn't planned, and I just came into my kitchen one day in the summer, and I said to my husband, I'm going to go to Nashville in July and record a CD, and because I'd been writing over the last 2 years, these songs in particular, and I really wanted them just, brought to life and
Wow.
sort of having a finished product. And he looked at me, and like he normally does, I make these random decisions. He's used to it. We've been together 20 years. He goes, okay, when? And I said, well, I'm going to go at the end of July.
I'm going to go at the hottest
Yeah,
possible
it was
time to be
really
in
hot.
Nashville.
It was so
Blazing.
hot. And there was no breeze there. So, and then of course the air conditioning is always cranked. So I'm like layering up in there, and you're going outside, and you're like, oh my God, it's like 35 degrees, and actually 40 some days. It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
But so yeah, I went down there. One of the tracks had been recorded in the fall of 2014, which is the one that's co-written on there. I went to Beard and did that then when I was in Nashville we have like a yearly Canadian songwriters thing that I usually play at. I was down there for that, and I thought, well, let's see what this song, sounds like in the studio. And so then 2 years later, I went and did the rest of them. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Nashville's always an adventure, you know, and you said you've been down there a number of times. Do you still get wide-eyed when you go down there?
I definitely do. It's just the talent is never ending. You go in the songwriting, you know, if you want to learn to songwrite, that's where it's like church, you know. For me, you go there and you're changed, you know, when you hear like Victoria Banks, or I was there for her CD release party one year, Derek Rattan, or any of the number of unknown writers that you know, write the songs for like the Mirandas and the Blakes and stuff.
Right.
And you see them perform in the Bluebird Cafe. I actually saw Tom Douglas perform The House That Built Me before I'd ever heard Miranda's version of it.
Isn't that amazing?
And that was amazing. Out of like 300 or 400 people in the room, they were all in tears.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very, very moving. So that's basically what it is for me when you go down there. If you've maybe lost your way, not too inspired, a trip to Nashville always gets everything opened back up, and you know, your creative juices flowing, I guess, so to say. So.
Barbara Lynn Doran is here. It's funny you mentioned that song in particular. I remember the first time I clicked play on that when it was delivered to us at radio. And I knew this doesn't happen often, where the first time I hear a song, you know, it has that impact. But I knew that one was special the first time I heard that.
Just unbelievable.
And there's been a few others along the way, like Humble and Kind. I played that once and went, yep, that's going to be a big song.
Yeah.
And most recently, Kill a Word by Eric Church. Played that and went, yep. Yeah, he's at a home run. But The House That Built Me was one of those songs.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so seeing it performed by the writer, just on piano, and you know, it was really unbelievable.
And that was before you'd said that Miranda.
I think it had been released in the States, but it wasn't released up here. So about 2 or 3 weeks after I'd gotten back, I was like, oh, there's Miranda's version of that song.
But your idea of that song would be totally different.
It was totally different, and he's kind of a songwriter that doesn't do a lot of stuff publicly. So, you know, I immediately came back and tried to Google him. Apparently, he has a book. I couldn't find it, but just amazing. And I think that was a song that they had sat on for a while too, which tends to happen. You know, you hear that song's 15 years old. And it's just getting cut. I know, it's crazy. Not that one in particular, but you hear that story all the time. So
Barbara Lynn Doran of Brooklyn, Ontario's brought a guitar player named Rob, and we learned very, very quickly off air, Rob, that you're a better golfer than I am. Yet we still managed to be getting along okay as a result.
Famously.
A little, you know, I'm fascinated by songwriters, and I love these songwriting conversations, and I'd like to trade some thoughts on that after you play a song. What do you got?
We're gonna play my next single, I believe, which is it's called Stranger.
Yay! And it's dedicated to Barb's family, who I've taken away all week.
Yes, exactly. I've been away from them all week. So.
Yeah, so if you're not home, who's at home fighting crime?
Oh, my husband.
Matt squared, actually.
Yes, he is. Both of them, you know, keeping everything together. So it's a challenge, but he meets the task all the time. So
as long as nobody's getting hurt, the house isn't on fire.
It's not on fire.
That's a success. Barbara Lynn Doran, this is Stranger.
Dreams were my driving force, my passion kept me safe. They held me up in the gale and winds and the worst of the rain. Where's that little girl with starlit eyes? She's been swallowed up by stolen dreams. Like shattered glass, I watch my dreams collapse, and things will never be the same. When did I become? When did I become? When did I become a stranger in my skin? When did I become this stranger? Lost in my new reflection, trying to take it day by day. Like I've been dropped in a new town with no compass to find my way. Who's this woman now with blinders on, trying to adjust to change? Layer by layer, you try to strip me down, testing my spirit every day. When did I
Beautiful. Nice.
Thank you.
Barbara Lynn Doran. Rob, nice job on the guitar.
Thanks, buddy.
Backing vocals, good stuff. So, the beauty, I think sometimes, when these acoustic sessions happen in our studio, and it's 3 parts laziness and 1 part liking to be organic, I don't like to study up too much.
Right.
Just kind of go and see where the conversation leads.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes I end up circling back to this whole songwriting thing because I'm fascinated by people who can write songs.
Right.
Here's our love.
And don't show people that.
Oh, this is so cool. There's Barbara's
Well,
website.
with the songwriting element of this whole program, I've always believed I'm too analytical a guy
Right.
to write a song.
Really?
Yeah. I think I've got so much music in my head because I kind of live in this music universe
Right.
that there's no way I could ever do anything original, that all of a sudden I'd start hearing other people's songs. So the question I always have is, how do you pull that off? And I know it's such a big question, but what's kind of your process when it comes to songwriting?
I songs, to me, they almost come from another place. They just, titles and lyrics and ideas and melodies, they just come to me. So there's, sometimes you might hear somebody say something that triggers you, and, perhaps friends and family should be careful what they say around you because you never know how it's going to end up or where it's going to end up in a song. But for me, it just comes to me, and I try not to overthink too much. Is this somebody else's melody or anything like that? I've had a few people ask me that. Oh, do you do research? And I'm like, no, I don't do research.
See, that sounds like what I would do,
Yeah,
because I'm an
yeah.
analytical guy.
Yeah, sometimes I might do it, like, after I've come up with the title and possibly already written the song, I thought, maybe I should search that title to make sure there's not too many other songs with that
Nope,
title.
nobody ever wrote a song called Satisfaction. I'm good.
So I just go with it. I mean, in some cases, there may be 1 or 2 other songs that might have the same title, but I still, feel that it's fine and it's still different.
I don't even think it's a title thing. I mean, there's always so many songs. You could do a Google search
Right,
of songs
for
of a
sure.
certain title. You're going to find tons of them. It's kind of what's contained within.
Exactly.
That I've always thought was such a massive challenge. And, I think even whether it's lyrically or musically, eventually I'm going to have somebody else's song coming up. But so I'm fascinated. In fact, there's a guy, a young upstart, who sat exactly where you are 10 days ago. His name's Dean Brody. And we had a bit of a songwriting conversation
Yeah.
because I've heard it said, and he confirmed, that he's not one of these people who sits around and just writes all the time.
No, I don't either. So it's
Wow.
kind of strange. I know there's people that, perhaps if they're writers as a living, they want to hammer out as many hundreds of songs a year
Right.
that they can. But I don't do that either. So it has to. Of course, you have to have time, which is the first thing. And this week, I actually did start something new, which was exciting. But even finding the time to sit down and get into your own headspace is a challenge. But yeah, I have to have something has to inspire me. Where
Right.
if I have a co-writing appointment, that's kind of a different vibe and a different feel. But for the songs like these on this on Reveal that I wrote myself, it's just kind of going up into my bedroom and maybe I'm practicing another song, and then all of a sudden something pops into my head, a melody or a word or something, and from there it just develops into this song. And really, I just don't know. It almost feels otherworldly, for me, that it comes from somewhere else.
Man, I wish I could
So.
do that. I really wish I could.
I can't golf, so that you got that.
Turns
on
out
me.
neither can I. I'm having a rough day. It was a real soul-searching session here.
You gotta get out with Zach Merck.
Yes, I do. All right, Barbara Lynn Doran is here. Now, you'd mentioned the title of the album, which is Reveal. And I looked at it when you were singing, and I thought, okay, there's got to be something in that title.
So that was a title that I, again, popped into my head about 1.5 years ago. And I thought, wow, would that not be perfect for my next CD, the title? Because I just felt that some of the songs I'd been writing up to that point and really going forward were songs that really did reveal things about me that perhaps I was dealing with or that people didn't know about me before. So there's quite a few on there that are pretty, you know, they're very personal, and some are fact deeply buried in fiction. But again, they're all songs really that are about me, very introspective. So
Nice. Where can people find your music?
my music can be found on iTunes, of course. The CD isn't formally released until there's a pre-release November 21st.